you've been a very high profile, but below the big radar for quite a while, gathering a lot of media attention and so on. Now you've put yourself right into what they would call the big dog race. It's like, this is it for leadership. That brings with it new pressure, new workload, new anxieties, all that. I mean, you must have factored all this in. How are you feeling about it?
I mean, of course, you have to factor all of that in, and you shouldn't diminish that this is not it's not an easy task for any of the candidates, and especially those of us that don't live in London and trying to get back and see our families. That is definitely an added pressure, but it's worth doing. If you think something is worth doing and you think it's worth giving a shot because you have a chance to change something, it is amazing how much pressure you can take and how...
The central charge against you from your critics is that you talk a great game, but you're all mouth and no trousers. that there's not much substance behind all the talk. You play the media brilliantly, you've got a great profile, but that actually when it comes to the real meat of policy and vision for the Labour Party, you're lacking. How do you respond to that?
Well, I just would ask people to actually look at my record even just since I've been in Parliament or previous to being in Parliament. I have dedicated my career to trying to change people's lives. And we need policies that will actually do that. But first of all, we need to be able to win in order to do anything. The idea that somebody who worked for years for a service that helped victims of domestic and sexual violence. I worked with the Home Office, I worked with the Ministry of Justice, I held contracts with national government, local government. I advised governments on what policies they should be putting in those areas. And so, sort of, what is my...
All right, you're Labour leader, right, in May.
Yep.
Top 3 priorities.
First, without question, we have got to sort out the crisis in social care, and we have got to do that by being completely honest with the country about the fact that, and I think that the country wants a free at the point of delivery, like the NHS social care system, and it doesn't matter which bit of the country you live in, and it in fact doesn't matter which class you are. This is an issue that terrifies most people.
And I think a lot of people would agree, and how do you pay for it?
Well, I think we've got to have an honest conversation with the country. Like
what is that conversation?
Attlee
well,
did
it's
with the NHS,
tax, isn't it?
But yes is the answer to that
how much
question.
would you raise it by?
I'm not going to sit here and make up policy on the hoof. What you asked me was what would be my priority. I'm not going to do all of this on my own.
But part of the problem that Jeremy Corbyn found was he made all these grandiose promises, £80 billion worth of stuff he was going to be doing, but nobody believed he could finance it. So actually, the relevance of the questions about... Yes, we all would love to have free social care. Who is going to pay for it? You say the taxpayer.
Yes.
The taxpayer's watching going, OK, well, how? What are you going to do to me?
Look, I think you're absolutely right on the fundamental thing that you said, is that people didn't trust that we could do it. So we have now got the next 4 years or 5 years, depending on whether we repeal the Fixed-Term Parliament Act. We have got the time to be making those arguments. But more importantly, if we don't take the time to win back trust with the public on all sorts of areas...
How much of your devastating loss as a party, one of the worst ever in Labour's history, how much of it was the flawed Brexit position, which nobody really understood what the position was, and how much of it was Jeremy Corbyn?
I mean, I can't...
I
literally can't...
You talk about honest conversation. Let's have an honest conversation, because
I'm happy
many
to have
people on the doorstep say a lot of it was down to Corbyn.
But I can't... when you say how much of it, I can't give a percentage.
No. What does your gut feeling tell you?
I think it was a mixture of both. The polling, the post-election polling suggests that the leadership was more than Brexit. I think that you can't overcome 3 or 4 hurdles. The British public don't expect to agree with you on absolutely everything you say. They can tolerate if they're not happy with something that you're saying. If they trust that you are on their side and that you've got their family's best interest at heart, or that you're going to deliver.
Do you think that people didn't believe that about Jeremy Corbyn?
Yes.
Jess Phillips, we've talked about things like this before on this programme. I find it sometimes incomprehensible that you could stand as an MP on a manifesto, for instance, that you think couldn't be delivered. I find it sometimes, I scratch my head at the fact that, I mean, back in July 2016, you threatened to resign from the Labour Party and sit as an independent MP if Corbyn was re-elected as the leader of the party, stating you'd find it incredibly difficult to continue serving under Corbyn's leadership. You didn't do that. You carried on. Yeah. And so you were standing as an MP for a leader you didn't believe in and a manifesto that you didn't think voters would believe. How did you think the party was going to win?
Because you have to... Well, I didn't think that the party was going to win, and that is why I kept speaking up and trying to change things. Not just me, lots of people. And
isn't it disingenuous to stand as an MP for a party that you don't think is going to win because of the manifesto and because of the leader?
No, because the alternative is to back down forever. So the alternative is to say, do you know what, I have no place in this because I'm not getting absolutely everything that I want.
Or that very much of what you want.
Well, no, I still... There is a huge amount that both Corbyn wanted, the whole anti-austerity. If you were to come and live where I live, and I'm sure it's the same where you live, it's in a desperate situation. They don't even cut the grass in the park where I live anymore, and everywhere there are homeless people on the street. So there is a huge amount of Labour values in both Jeremy Corbyn and in the Labour manifesto.
But if you had the courage of your convictions and you said, I don't believe in this leader and I will go and stand as an independent because I do not believe he can deliver what I believe in, why wouldn't you stand by that and go and stand as an independent?
I actually think that you're misquoting what I said in the first place. What I said was that the atmosphere in the party had become such that it would be very difficult for somebody like me to stay.
He has crossed a couple of red lines for me, and I will find it very difficult to fall in line with a further Jeremy Corbyn Labour Party.
Well, I did find it very difficult, is the truth. But you have to... It's not just about me and you have to weigh up what is the best thing that you can do. I wouldn't have served the people in my constituency or the people in the country if I'd put my own feelings first.
One of the things about being a leader of a party, you have to make big decisions if you become Prime Minister. You might be Prime Minister, anything can happen. One of the other confusing things that Labour had, it seemed to me, very confusing, we couldn't get any straight answer from almost anybody, was the party's position on the Trident nuclear missile programme. The party position was that we're going to renew it at a potential cost of £200 billion to the taxpayer over 20, 30 years. But Jeremy Corbyn's openly stated position was he would never use it, thereby negating the whole point of it, which is a deterrent. Rebecca Long-Bailey this morning has said she supports the Trident missile programme renewal. Do you?
Yes, I think actually the Labour Party manifesto was right on this.
Would you be prepared, if you were Prime Minister, to use our nuclear deterrent?
When you become the Prime Minister, you have to write a letter of, I think it's the letter of last resort, and nobody has ever seen one of those because nobody has ever actually had to do it. But just like you want to keep your family at home safe and you would do anything to do that, if you are the Prime Minister, you have to be willing to do anything
to keep your country safe. So if you had to, you would press the button?
If I had to, I'd press the button.
Did you find it weird that...
Seems to, you know...
Well, it seems very obvious to you and to me. It wasn't obvious to Jeremy Corbyn, who wanted his party to renew the Trident programme, but said he'd never use it. I mean, that was the confusion.
I mean, I think that maybe we should try and draw a line and what
Jeremy
has gone
Corbyn.
On. Well, yeah, well...
What is your view of the Iranian crisis and the assassination of the Quds leader Soleimani?
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to cry any tears for Soleimani. My sister-in-law is Iranian and my nephews are half Iranian. And I know of the turmoil and terror that he has brought to the region. Also, I represent hundreds and hundreds of people whose families he slaughtered from Syria. But I do feel that the way that it has been handled and the aftermath of what has happened, how we've seen escalating tensions, means that it should have been handled in a considerably more diplomatic manner than Donald Trump has managed.
How do you handle an assassination of a terrorist diplomatically?
We killed
Osama bin Laden. You supported that?
Yes.
We killed Baghdadi, leader of ISIS. You supported that?
There is a slightly different issue.
Except that they're all
Soleimani
terrorists, right?
but Soleimani is a state figure, and in this country we do not agree with state assassination. That is...
But he's also, to many people's eyes, including the Americans, and we've been saying this for years, he's the leader of a terror group committing acts of terror atrocities.
But when you take action like Donald Trump has taken, you have to consider the proportion and the outcome And what it seems to me is that he didn't tell his allies that he was doing it. He didn't consider the outcome for them. And it's being reported in the Times now that Britain is having to send troops over to Iraq to shore up both citizens, British citizens in Iraq and our soldiers abroad. Yeah. We should have been told. It was reckless.
Okay. I want to ask about one of the other reasons that people say Labour lost the election. Not just Corbyn, not just the manifesto, Brexit. That the position on Brexit just simply wasn't clear. We're still not sure what Jeremy Corbyn thinks about Brexit. I was interested to hear you on the Andrew Marr programme on Sunday saying that you would still keep open the possibility of campaigning to remain in the EU. Now, hasn't that ship sailed?
Oh, I think that I absolutely didn't say that I would campaign to remain in. I said
you kept open the possibility
of rejoining in the future.
Yeah. So okay.
Sorry, just to be clear.
So not to remain, but to rejoin.
Lost, you know, the side that I am on has lost by losing the election. Boris Johnson has a majority of 80, and now it is my job to make sure that what is delivered is the best.
You're not ruling out going back into an organisation that we have voted to leave.
Can I just be completely clear? I am not campaigning to rejoin the European Union.
Now.
What I was saying...
What you would do in the future.
No, all Prime Ministers have to act on what is going on in the day. That is all I stated. And anyone who thinks that they can predict the future... I mean, we couldn't predict that Donald Trump... We all woke up to Donald Trump
so you
killing
would have to
Soleimani.
Look at what was going on at the time.
What's going to happen.
If we are living in an absolute paradise of trade and we're totally safe in the world and we're not worrying about having constantly to look to America for our safety and security, then maybe I'll be proven wrong. But the reality is, if our country is safer, it's more economically viable to be in the EU, then I will fight for that, regardless of how difficult that argument is to make.
Can you imagine a Prime Minister who wouldn't fight for the safety and the economic security of their country?
Yeah, but actually what you're saying,
bad,
you would fight to reverse the Brexit decision.
No, that's absolutely not what I was saying.
That's what those words mean.
That's exactly how people are interpreting
That's why you retracted them the next day. That's why you had to clarify.
No. Can I just say, they were my words. I'll say what they mean. Thank you, Piers.
Well,
I understand that you like to talk over.
I will fight for that.
Facts don't allow for emotion, I'm afraid. The words are right in front of us.
And you didn't say, in these words, you didn't say rejoin. You said, if it is more economically viable to be in the European Union, then I will fight for that.
But what?
It sounds like you're fighting a losing battle, Jess Phillips. That's what people think when they hear those words.
That is absolutely what people might think.
Or a lost battle.
Why would any Prime Minister... I mean, we're going to have to ask this question over the next few years. Why would any Prime Minister not try and fight for what was... Whether it's the European Union, whether it's trade with America, whether it's a relationship with China, why would you not try to do what was best for your country?
Do you think the Brexit is going to succeed or fail?
Do you know what? I absolutely hope that it succeeds because of the car workers in my constituency. And we have not just got to hold Boris Johnson's feet to the fire to make sure that he is proven not to have lied to the public and that he has to deliver on what he says. But we should also take part in making sure that it works for the people in our country.
Yes, take part in making sure it works.
Yeah, of course.
In which case, saying that you would at some stage fight to rejoin is a moot argument.
Under a hypothetical. Nobody knows what the future holds, do they? Can you tell me, is it going to work? Is it going to be manna from heaven?
I definitely keep my fingers crossed it will.
Before we let you go, very quickly, the second and third priorities if you were the leader.
Sorry. I would make universal childcare, literally universal, because I think that it would improve the productivity in our country.
Up to what age?
Well, from 2 up to, in fact, from 18 months, I think, would be necessary. Also, I would absolutely, we have to have a radical overhaul of what we're doing on the green agenda, because it's simply not working, as you know, from selling Shane Warne's hat and what is going on in Australia.
OK, Jess Phillips, good to see you. Thank you for coming in.